Welcome into another episode of the McKale Madness podcast. I'm your host, Saul Bookman, alongside Corey Williams. I finally got the finger pointing right. I always got to go opposite of the screen that I'm looking at. So I got to point over here, but you're really over there. So there you go. Corey, how's it going, man?
Going good, man. Going good. A little tired. Just got off the road this morning. Had Big 12 game last night in Provo. Nice and cold in Utah, but I'm doing all right. Not too bad.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, at least you enjoyed Utah. I know I hate going to Utah, and I know. Well, listen, I say you enjoyed it, but I also know that like when you got up there, like all the spots were closed down, and so the only thing that was open was the Denny's late at night.
Man, you sitting there, you hungry, and you glance across the parking lot, and you see that yellow sign. You know it's not going to be good, but it ain't going to be bad either. You just got to do what you got to do sometimes. All that late night bad decisions.
Whatever gets the job done, right?
Man, I didn't go all in. I just had a little sandwich and then got up out of there. I didn't go full breakfast with the milkshake and all of that crazy stuff. I didn't do none of that.
I love it. All right. Well, Corey, listen, while you were in Provo having a good time, the Wildcats were in Morgantown, by God, West Virginia, having a good time themselves. And it looks like they're back on track. But you know how we do here. We don't want to make any assumptions that they're completely back. But we did want to ask the streets whether or not or who was mainly responsible for this nice little 5-game run, 3-0 in the Big 12 turnaround for the Wildcats. So the streets is talking here. And the poll shows Tommy Lloyd, 41%, followed up by Henri Veesaar at 31%, Carter Bryant at 17%, and KJ Lewis at 11%. Overall, Corey, impressive road trip to sweep Cincinnati and West Virginia. So let's get into it. What were your initial takeaways from this last week?
Well, first of all, that poll, you tossed that out. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. People give Tommy Lloyd credit. Tommy Lloyd he was at his wits' end. He was at his wits' end. He didn't really know how to interact. This is for me talking to him. This isn't just me making this up. I'm talking to him, and he's like, we're trying different things. We're trying different combinations. And in a way, what he said was, without saying it, because this is what a good coach will do, our guys, it's on them. It's not like he was restricting anybody's minutes. It's not like he was out there telling guys how to play. He was giving guys opportunities. The first 11 games of the season, giving guys opportunities to show what they could do to get it right, and they finally started to get it right. So to say somehow Tommy Lloyd gets credit for the 3-win streak, no, not at all. Dudes finally became accountable and started hooping. Tommy sits over there with a sweatshirt on. He been doing the same thing since y'all got beat by Duke. He been telling y'all the same stuff since October. The fans know it. Tommy Lloyd pulled some magical strings and all of a sudden they won. That ain't how it works, people. It don't work that way. I'm sorry, but I gotta agree with the streets.
Just to be fair, when they were not winning, maybe a lot of those same people were dogging on Tommy Lloyd, saying it's all his fault too. And so maybe they're like, hey, you know what? We got to give him some love since we were all over him when they were down. We got to be all over him when they're up. I don't know. It's just a thought.
I can see that, because if you were blaming him when it wasn't his fault, then you're going to be praising him when it wasn't his fault. But I've been watching Arizona all season long intently, just like you. And I saw the way they lost games in the final minutes. I saw what happened against UCLA, what happened at Wisconsin, what happened against Duke, what happened against West Virginia. I saw those games, and Arizona was in all those games, but they didn't execute down the stretch. Good coach isn't going to come out there and throw his players under the bus, because it's a long season. A lot of things can happen. But what I saw against West Virginia, what I saw against Cincinnati, is some people finally got a little steel in their spine and they started playing D, Saul. They held West Virginia to 56 points at their crib. That's insane. Yeah. Now, West Virginia jacked up a lot of threes and they just abandoned their post game, but that wasn't by design. That's because Arizona actually played defense. So for me, I think you can give a lot of credit to Veesaar, giving some productivity, spot minutes. I don't think anything was really expected of him this season, but he's out there putting people in the rim.
Bro.
You know how hype you get when your big man puts somebody in the rim. It's contagious. Like, dudes is ready. Oh, my God, let's go. Finally, we have an inside presence, you know? So I think Veesaar giving them some post presence. And then the unsung hero, KJ Lewis, I can't believe they didn't give him the props he deserves. I mean, the man is out there distributing the ball. Everybody looks at the 21 points. But you got to go back and look at the TCU game where he had 8 dimes and hardly any turnovers. I mean, KJ Lewis is kind of that, what do you need tonight type guy, you know? And I think that guy, people got to respect that. And then, hold on, last one. You go to West Virginia. You got 6 guys that play 25 minutes. 6 guys that barely play more than half the game. Jaden Bradley plays 37 minutes at the point and has 1 damn turnover. Bro, you ain't losing games when your point guard play like that. I don't care who you are. If your point guard played 37 minutes, give you 15 points, and only turn the ball over once, you probably going to win. Yeah. So there is enough love to go around. I like the responses, but, man, Tommy Lloyd is last on the list. I got to give the players the credit they deserve. They finally locked in. They started playing as a team, and it showed. It really did.
Yeah, no, I 100%. We're going to get to Jaden Bradley here in a little bit, but let's start off with Henri Veesaar and really Carter Bryant as well. I want to put those two kind of together because they're both coming off the bench. They both are productive as all hell. Carter Bryant had a little bit of a better game, I thought, against Cincinnati. He was, he played yesterday. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but, he wasn't a tremendous factor. The game before, I thought he did a pretty good job defensively and hit some stuff. So I thought overall those two, and obviously Veesaar's he's becoming such a key player for Arizona to the point where, I mentioned a couple weeks ago, they needed one of these guys to step up and play a little bit above where they had been. And if that could happen, especially with Veesaar being being able to stretch out, he hasn't shot the 3 in the last couple of games, but he can stretch out and shoot the 3. And then really the surprising thing to me, I think, and everybody's a little surprised, is his versatility on defense and on offense in being able to put the ball on the ground and get to the rim. And defensively, he does not look like a fish out of water when he's trying to guard the perimeter on a pick and roll just to touch and go. I think he has adequately been a very good piece on the defense, which has really shifted things, especially when you go from a Waka Townsend lineup to all of a sudden now you got 2 guys in Carter Bryant and Henri Veesaar who are far more long, lanky, athletic than those 2 guys in their versatility to be able to guard not only at the rim but also on the perimeter.
I think you're right. And you'll never hear me say that Arizona being 4-5 was a good thing. I'm going to keep it 100%. I'm going to keep it real. That was never a good thing. Nobody ever wants to be 4-5. But what it did do is it put Arizona in a make or break situation, and it made them. And a lot of people may disagree with what I'm about to say, but when they were 4-5, the train had left the station, the boat had left the dock. This is who we are. This is who we have. So when you talk about Carter Bryant, you talk about Veesaar, giving them minutes, they know they're not coming out of the game. This is all we have, so you got to give us something. That peace of mind, that bit of responsibility, that slight little bit of pressure, that is what you want to put on young players to help them develop. Let Carter Bryant go out there with the starting unit and do some good things. Bring him out, put him in so that he experiences some success with the first line. I remember my sophomore year when I first started getting loose with the starters. I can't tell you what that did for my confidence because there were times where I was the only sub out there and I'm playing with the starting unit and the looks I'm getting are better. the pats on the butt, the confidence. When I score a bucket you begin to believe in who you really are. And that's where Tommy's great. He blends the young players in good situations so they can have success and get their confidence up. Because 3 or 4 weeks from now, you're still going to want to be able to go 9 or 10 deep if you have to. And that's the trick right now. But both of those guys, you're right. They're stepping up and playing well.
Yeah, and listen, let's talk about KJ for a second. KJ had a really tough start to the season, wasn't able to get the ball to drop. Defensively, he's picking up fouls, techs, things of that nature, and he was a little all over the place. But it has been very, very nice to see him really collect himself, put himself back together, and really find his identity. And I think as we've been watching him play these last couple of games, you're right, Corey. It's what can I do for you tonight? It's not this is what I'm going to do because this is who I am. This is all right. My team needs this. I'm going to do this. My team needs this. I'm going to do this. And, you talked about the passing. Yesterday, I thought his scoring was much needed because Caleb Love was off, again last night. And I think that his scoring it wasn't only just his scoring, but it was his effectiveness from the perimeter that led to other things around him, which I thought was just tremendous. And so that was very, very good to see. Defensively, I think KJ is really starting to find his groove as well. His matchups, he is a tough matchup for a lot of guards to try and go up against, and even forwards because, Corey, one of the worst people in the world to try and go up against is the guy that's like way shorter than you, right? Like those are the guys that I always had a tough time when I was playing against like a 5'6" kind of guy. And he's like trying to body me, but he's like quicker. And so you have to try and find yourself when KJ has to match up against a taller, small forward, or if he's matched up against a guard and those guards are not as quick or as lengthy as him, and those bigs are not as quick as him, he just causes a lot of havoc, gets his hands on the ball, and just overall has been able to really be effective on the defensive end. And I think Arizona has definitely found its groove defensively. Even with Caleb Love not shooting well, Caleb's defense cannot be slept on either. I thought overall defensively through both these games on the road, they did a tremendous job. And I know in Cincinnati they blew that lead. I get it, and that was not great. However, again, from earlier in the season when they lost to UCLA, and then you were put in the same exact position against Cincinnati, and you thrive and you win that game. That's already step one in learning some of your past mistakes. And then you fast forward to yesterday and you saw they blew a lead again from, I believe it was like 15 down to 5. And then boom, ADO comes in, hits a 3. They go on a 14-2 run. They go back up by 17. Lesson learned from just the game before and blowing your leads. And the biggest thing was defense the whole way through.
No, you're right. And I'm going to take you back. Saul, you got kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
You remember the time when you were standing off to the side watching them learn how to ride their bike for the first time?
Mm-hmm.
And when they finally got it, you just kind of had that proud papa look and you probably folded your arms and you nodded your head like they got it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting in my hotel room watching the game, and I had that same feeling watching these guys. And the Hoopers know what I'm about to say. They finally learned how to go to war. They learned how to war. They learned how to war in Morgantown. I watched the body language in the huddles. Every loose ball, they were huddling up, talking to each other, the high fives, the communication, the encouragement. They knew it's us versus them. They weren't rattled. They didn't get distracted, and they literally played one possession at a time. Every great team is able to self-correct without the coach even being on the floor. They're able to huddle up on dead balls. And I always, as an analyst, I watch dead ball activity. Mm-hmm. What does your crew do when the refs are taking the ball over to the side? What do they do after they whistle a foul? Are you putting in the next play? Are you talking about a defensive error? Are you communicating those hundreds of tiny details that make the difference in the game? Or is everybody just standing around, looking at the crowd, waiting for the ball to get back in play? The teams that learn how to go to war and inch by inch claw their way to a victory, that's what makes the difference in the top level teams and the other teams. If you got to burn timeouts to self-correct your squad, you still may have a good team, but eventually it's going to come back to bite you. And I think what I saw is the maturity from that Arizona team. I saw the positive body language and mentality, and they really learned how to go to war. I've been in those huddles for Arizona basketball. I've been in hostile environments, And I know when you go to war, it's a different type of feeling because you know, like, okay, guys, we can figure this out on our own. There's no bickering. There's no finger pointing. What about the next play, the next play, the next play? And you keep stacking those next plays on top of each other, and you walk out of West Virginia with a double-digit win.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. Do want to give a shout out to ADO. I thought he shot the ball very well. I also thought, listen, when he flew to the sideline and hit his leg on the bench on those courtside seats, you could tell he had kind of like a mid thigh bruise or some type. He was banged up. Corey, you know this because you've been dead legged before, and it is hard to come back and not only just play, but also hit a jumper, a key 3-pointer right after he comes back in, which was probably the most difficult shot of anybody this year because one leg just ain't quite right. And you still had the courage to shoot it, and he splashed it. It was nothing but net. And it was a key shot in that run because it did lead to that 14-2 run. I want to give him some credit. Yeah, he's been playing much more solid than at the beginning of the year, especially defensively. He's not as much of a liability or a turnstile as I think he was at the beginning of the year. He's starting to adapt and adjust to the speed of power conference games. And I want to give him some love because he deserves it. He's starting to grow on this fan base. He's starting to hit those key shots. He's becoming more reliable. And all these guys are starting to find their groove. I absolutely love that Tommy's patience pays off. And that's where we as fans kind of lose track of what's really going on, is because we panic because Arizona's 4-5. But there's a long game here. And if you know your team and you understand, like, hey, this is a process, as long as we stay with the process and just kind of keep working, then it's going to work out. And it's a testament because it was proven in the game. And I tweeted this out a couple times, Corey. Arizona would get in trouble when they went too fast for themselves. Okay. They went too fast, or they took some ill-advised shots within like 5 or 10 seconds of the shot clock when you could tell and you could feel in the building the team was on the cusp of a run. And I think Arizona over the course of this season has really learned how to slow down a little bit, be more methodical when things are kind of on the ropes, and just get a quality shot. And you saw that time after time after time again. The 80-03, and then right after that, KJ Lewis gets a backdoor cut for a layup. I just thought overall that's where Arizona has found that machismo, and just settle down. Don't panic. We don't have to get a quick strike back right away unless it's off a fast break, and just play Arizona basketball. It doesn't have to be helter-skelter.
No, you're right. And I think a lot of people, they always use the portal and roster turnover as an excuse when you talk about chemistry, but not to harp on it. It is just so real. When you've got juniors and seniors, I don't wonder what you're going to do Saturday afternoon against UCLA. I know 2 years ago because we've been playing together for 3. I know exactly what you're going to do. When I go baseline, I'm going to drop it off. You're going to cut. You're going to lay it up. You've been doing it for 3 years. That's where Arizona's gotten to already in just a short amount of games. They look comfortable. They know what the other ones are going to do. What are you going to do, KJ? Well, I'm going to wreak havoc, play D, get steals, and slash a little bit. Okay, cool. Jaden, what are you going to do? I'm going to do some ball screens, get downhill, dish it out. Dio, what are you going to do? I'm going to stay in the corner and hit threes. I'm going to rim run. Now they're comfortable with what the others are doing. They know what to expect. The ball does the work, and that's where the panic doesn't set in. So like you're saying, slow it down, be methodical. They finally to a point where everybody knows what they're going to do. They're not just going out there and waiting to see how many threes Caleb's going to hit. That's not how they played. And I can tell you right now, the vibe I got from this team was it's not Caleb Love in Arizona. And this is no disrespect to Caleb Love. We can win games without, I don't want to say without Caleb Love, but without the 25-point effort from Caleb Love. They can beat anyone. If you play 6 guys and nobody plays more than 26 minutes and you beat someone by 19 points on the road, that's the recipe right there. Agreed. And you can look at the point totals, nobody really lit it up. I mean, KJ had 21, Jaden had 15, but at the end of the day, you're not going to beat 6 dudes hooping every day. If 6 dudes come to play every game, you're not going to beat them. You can beat 2 dudes that have good games, but you're not going to beat 6. And that's just the basics. And I know, to your point, you got to give Tommy some credit because I know there was a time where he thought about cutting that rotation down to 7 and just being like, F it, this is what we rolling with. But he kept that bench deep, and it paid off in this last weekend.
Absolutely. We're going to get to some more reasons why this team has really started to find their groove in a second after this. Folks, listen, Arizona was money this weekend. You can win yourself some money by going to Bet365. And listen, their college basketball early payouts are fantastic. If you make a bet on your team to win, and at any point in time in the game, Arizona, obviously, if you're talking about college basketball or even any team you bet on, if they at any point in time in the game, they go up by 20 points, boom, cash out, you win your bet. That's it. That's how Bet365 does it. Visit bet365.com. Download the Bet365 app. They are fantastic. 100% parlay boost as well. It's just they are trying to give you money. They're trying to give away money to you if you just play this right. And if you use promo code PHNX365, you can win yourself up to $150 in bonus bets by just playing $5. It's pretty simple. Just sign up and do that. Again, you must be 21 and over. Download the Bet365 app and use promo code PHNX365 when you sign up and place a bet of $5 or more and get $150 in bonus bets. Find out why, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Disclaimer, you must be 21 and over and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov. And then if you win some money there, I mean, this is probably just a bad segue into going into this, but if you win some money betting on the Bet365 app, maybe you should take those winnings and go to Gila River Casino and take your chances there.
Don't let your spouse know. Don't go home with the money. Just go straight to the casino with the money.
That's so true. That is so true. I think Estella has taken every single one of my winnings from every single win I've had at the casino. But Gila River Casino is fantastic. Again, we've talked about it before. 5-star resort. They have the gaming. They have dinner. All the nice restaurants. And then we do watch parties there. It's just a great facility. It's nice and casual. They have 4 locations. Vikiva is a great one out there in the middle of the east and west Phoenix area. And then obviously we go to Wild Horse Pass as well. They got the new Santan location. It's just all 4 locations are fantastic. You got to go check them out at Gila. So remember, you do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Play and visit playatgila.com for more details. All right, Corey, I do want to say one thing. KJ Lewis post-game yesterday talked about, they were giving a lot of props and love to him and Jaden and the whole crew. But KJ made it a point, because Caleb Love came up. He made it a point to be like, you know what? Even when KJ was out and he was sitting there on the sideline, he was engaged. He was cheering on his teammates. He was excited for us. When we came into a timeout, he was cheering us on, and he was really hyping us up. Like, he's such a great teammate. This is what KJ Lewis said. And I think those are the things, and KJ even said that these are the things that nobody sees behind the scenes. Nobody knows behind, off the television screen. And I bring that up because it matters what your reactions are as a teammate, especially if you're quote unquote the star player and you're not playing as great as you'd like on the offensive end, right? Or you're not living up to your own standards or other people's standards. And the fact that he did that and gave KJ giving Caleb Love some love, I just thought that was really cool of him to do, because it is important. It is important for people to understand that, like, Caleb Love is a good dude. He's a good teammate. And he really cares about Arizona basketball, and he really cares about winning and losing. And so despite, not shooting as well as he'd like, I thought that he was productive in other areas and deserved a shout out as well.
Well, the thing that kind of frustrates me from time to time is the narratives are inescapable. Whether you're an incoming freshman or 5th-year senior, Caleb Love is a name that's nationally recognized. He's played a lot of basketball in the college scene, and everyone knows who he is. And there's this narrative that Caleb Love is a sharpshooter who's going to become a pro and be a shooter in the pros. And that narrative is very fragile, because the moment someone says you're not a shooter, or the numbers don't support it, or people criticize you, then it seems like your window of being, a professional after college goes away. The better narrative for Caleb Love is simply Caleb Love is a winner. Caleb Love is a dog. Caleb Love is a complete basketball player. Yeah. Those 3 things will make sure he has an NBA career for quite a long time. So I think it's great to hear that he's not immersed in his own personal narrative, because as you know, as a ball player, if it's not going good for you, it's easy to get immersed in your own personal battle during the game. Your head drops, you're still playing, but you're mindful of your mistakes, you're mindful of your missed shots, and you're fighting this internal battle where it seems to me Caleb Love blanks out and plays good basketball. And if the threes show up, he takes them. If they don't, he's still trying to win. And I think being a winner, being a selfless player, having a positive attitude, those we all know he can shoot the ball. And the looks that you get in the pros are completely different than the looks that you get in college. So I don't think people need to equate whether or not he has a good game based on how many threes he has. Because my whole thing is, I'll take yesterday's game 20 more times from this squad. And so will Tommy Lloyd. I don't care who scores. Yeah. I care that the block A has more points than the other guys. That's all I care about. And that's all the players care about as well. But I know what you're saying, and it is great to hear that he's still locked in and he's selfless. And honestly, that's true leadership when you see guys behaving like that.
I mean, that big run came while he was on the bench. And you know what the narrative will be sometimes. So, well, see, they're better without Caleb. No, that's not necessarily the case.
Coach. I mean, come on, that's why they don't coach.
Yeah, I mean, point blank. So, just wanted to make sure I shared that love for Caleb. And then, we had a question via the Twitter streets. And this one comes by way of Mr. Greg Keown. I hope I said that right. Keown. He said, if Arizona continues to run the table, is Jaden Bradley a Big 12 Player of the Year candidate? 38 minutes a game for the number one team in the conference, uber efficient with less than 9 shots a game, 15.6 yesterday, 3-to-1 assist turnover ratio, 2 steals. Biggest piece is he is the maestro of the Arizona machine. Opposing coaches have praised his pace, floor generalship, defensive intensity, and poise in the face of full court pressure. Being a winner, having winning intangibles, and leading a winning team always matters, right? I would absolutely agree. I think if Arizona continues to play the way that they're playing and continues to win at the clip that they're winning, Jaden Bradley for sure should be in that conversation, because Jaden Bradley, if you are a casual basketball observer and you just look at the box scores, you do not understand what Jaden Bradley brings to the table. You just don't. You will miss the entire mark. Jaden Bradley does all the little things in order for Arizona to remain successful. He is he reminds me, he gives me a little bit of like a combination of all the great guards in U of A history that were just composed and never look rattled at all. And he kind of reminds me of Jason Terry minus the high level scoring is kind of what I always kind of, every time I look at it, even the way he runs, I'm like, man, there's a little bit of Jason Terry in there, man. And I love it. I love it.
You know, when you talk about conference player of the year, I'll give the people out there a little bit of information on how that gets determined. The coaches all sit around and they ask one simple question: who are we scared of? When we have to play a team, who's the one guy we know we have to shut down, we have to limit, we have to change his game? He's the head of the snake. And if you finish in first place in the Big 12 and you go back to everybody's scouting report and all the coaches agree Jaden Bradley was the key to that team, then guess who the player of the year is? It's not the guy who scores the most points. It's not the guy who gets the most promos on ESPN. It's the guy that all the coaches consensus respect and know. You take this guy off that team and they are not the same. Then they are not the same by a lot. So that's when you start talking about player of the year. Who are we preparing for? Who are we trying to stop? Well, what are we trying to stop with Jaden Bradley? Him getting downhill in ball screens. What are we trying to stop? Him in transition, easy layups. What are we trying to stop? Him taking our guard to the middle and getting mid-range pull-ups. Man, that's a lot of stuff. And he does it all every game. And yet so far, he hasn't really been limited by anybody. So if Arizona continues to have success and Jaden Bradley continues to have the impact and the vision and the assists and the court leadership, yeah, I mean, he makes a great point. He very well could be the player of the year for the conference.
You know, I loved Jaden Bradley last year. I really loved how he came on towards the end of the season. But what really impressed me was watching him in person against Clemson in the Sweet 16. I got a whole new appreciation for Jaden Bradley and the way he goes about his business. When the chips were falling all around him, he was the one person that was balling out, trying to keep Arizona to stay in that game against Clemson because everybody else was a little rattled, and he was not. He just looked like he was above all that BS. Like the moment was never too big for him, and that's what I always take away from Jaden Bradley. Is even in the hostile environments, I always have confidence that Jaden Bradley is going to at least put Arizona in a position to execute. Now, whether they do or not because of other players or whatever is whatever. But Jaden, it's not going to be Jaden's fault that Arizona didn't get set up and run their sets the way they were supposed to. It's not going to be Jaden's fault that somebody fell asleep on defense. He's always going to do his job, and that's what I love about Jaden. Jaden is so good that I feel like he has directly influenced both ends of the court to this degree. Arizona currently ranks in defensive efficiency via KenPom. They rank 22nd, Evan Maya 21, and Haslam rankings 25. Okay. On offense, they rank 15, 20, and 13 in those three same. So an average ranking of 16. And their best lineup has Jaden, Caleb, KJ, Bryant, and Veesaar on it. Jaden Bradley is, to me, the head of the snake of Arizona. If you're able to rattle him or take him out of the game, then you can beat Arizona, and you might beat him easily. Jaden Bradley is that important to this team.
And I think, when you look at Jaden Bradley, you're like, okay, we have to somehow neutralize him. So we're going to jump ball screens and make Jaden give it up. Really? Do you know who's to the left and who's to the right of him if he has to give it up? Yeah, that's Caleb Love and KJ Lewis, or Del Orso if it's early in the game. So you're going to make him give it up, and then you're going to try to rotate to two great shooters? That's not pretty wise. Okay, we're going to let him use the ball screen. Well, he's coming downhill. Do you want him dropping it off to Carter Bryant for dunks? Do you want him dropping it off to Veesaar for dunks? Toby Awaka for layups? Townsend for so making him give up the ball gives you even more headaches. So I think a lot of coaches have opted to just try to not limit his easy buckets because he's a big guard. He can't be sped up. If you try to speed him up, he's just going to beat you and make you pay. And if you slow him down, he puts the smaller guards on his hip and he just runs the offense. So I'll be the first to say I had my doubts about him as a true pure point guard, but I'm really enjoying watching the way he handles the job. Is he a typical point guard from Arizona days? Probably not, but it doesn't even matter. The point is 37 minutes, one turnover. That's a point guard. I'm sorry. It is. He doesn't have to look like it, but man, he's getting the job done.
He absolutely is getting the job done. We're going to talk more about the Big 12 and the defense here in a second after this break. Listen, we talk about Jaden Bradley driving to the basket and hooking up his teammates. You can hook yourself up by driving over to Sanderson Ford and hooking yourself up with a nice Ford F-150 or a Bronco Sport or a Bronco. I mean, they got the whole deal over there at Sanderson Ford. PHNX is proud to have Sanderson Ford as our official vehicle partner. Sanderson Ford is thankful to have lived and prospered for over 70 years in the Valley. They're thankful for their 500 plus employees who take care of customers at a high level, and that's the thing about Sanderson Ford that is so fantastic. They are going to take care of you up and down. Their customer service is second to none. They are always going to keep you in the loop. They're not going to make you frustrated by wheeling, dealing, and nickel and diming every little penny. They're going to try and hook you up with the best deal possible. And right now, you can get a new 2024 F-150 truck at 3.9% APR financing for 66 months, plus up to $4,000 cash back. Similar savings on over 900 new and pre-owned vehicles on the lot. So you got to check them out at at Sanderson Ford, and then drive over to Circle K and hook yourself up with some gas. Now, if you leave Sanderson Ford without gas in the gas tank, then you probably did it wrong. They need to hook you up in that first place. But after that, if you need some more gas, go to Circle K. The America's Thirst Stop is fantastic. They can hook you up with all the drinks. You save 25 cents per gallon if you download the Inner Circle app, and that's 25 cents per gallon for their first 5 fill-ups. You can't go wrong with that. Plus, all the beverages, snacks you can ever dream of are there at Circle K. It's always a stop on the way over to LA if you have to go. Listen, I know the missus always loves to go to Disneyland, so we are always driving out west. And we always stop at Circle K on the way out there because it's the place to go. So hook yourself up by going to Circle K and go to CircleK.com. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details. All right, Corey, real quick, let's talk about the Big 12. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands how much of a murderer's row the Big 12 is right now. Okay. Arizona just beat Cincinnati and West Virginia. Cincinnati and West Virginia are both in the top 25 in the country in defensive ratings. They're defensive efficiency ratings. Like, that's just what they are. There are seven in the top 30, 7 teams in the Big 12 out of the top 30 in the country that have that distinction. Number 2, Houston. Number 5, Kansas. Number 8, Iowa State. Number 9, Cincinnati. Number 18, West Virginia. And number 22, Arizona. And number 28, TCU. That is crazy. The defense in this league is second to none compared to any other conference, minus maybe the SEC, who also has 7 teams in the top 25 in KenPom ratings. So, Corey, I can't remember a time where this many good teams defensively were in the same conference battling out, outside of maybe the old Big East days when it was just like, grinded out, knuckle dragging kind of basketball out there with Georgetown and stuff.
No, I mean, I think you're right. I think the Big 12 does enjoy some really good numbers. I am at the point now, I usually wait till February to dig into numbers just because I'm like a pessimist. I'm kind of a statistical hater. I'm not an analytics guy. I think we're 14, 15 games in, and half of those games were cupcakes. So some of these stats that we're seeing,
sure.
I'm sitting down and, we're number 3 in the country in 3-point shooting. And I'm like, yeah, I looked at your non-conference. I see why you're, So we're getting to the point now where, you are facing tough competition from here on out. But make no mistake about it, Big 12, a physical league. I think Arizona and Arizona fans are curious as to where they would fit in this league. The whistle, it's a loose whistle in the Big 12. They don't necessarily call every little push and shove.
It's so refreshing.
Yeah, and the advantages of the defender. If the defender doesn't really gain an advantage from the contact, they're not blowing the whistle. And we said it before on the show. The first team to complain is usually the first team that loses. And I watched a very physical team in Texas Tech shut down BYU at home. I mean, BYU is a high-scoring team, but Texas Tech they were able to get after them, harass them, force some turnovers. Down the stretch, they wore them down. And it's really, like they say, styles make fights. And I think all the teams in the Big 12 are physical in the sense that they have to be. And God forbid you go into someone's gym and you're not ready to play and they get to pushing you around. It could be a long night no matter who that opponent is.
Yeah, no doubt about it. In the Big 12 right now, Arizona is tied for first place at 3-0 in the conference, and they're tied with Houston and Iowa State. And Houston and Iowa State are in the top, 10, 15 in the country. Now, I will say this about Houston, Corey, and I don't know if you've seen them in person yet or not, but oh my goodness, that team defensively just absolute dogs. And they're holding opponents to under 50 points a game sometimes. Like, they just get after it. I don't know what it is about Kelvin Sampson and Houston's teams, but I swear he's getting dudes from the yard because those dudes look like grown-ass men and they are just physical as hell. You know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm like, bro, like, where did this dude come from? Because he is big as hell. Like, he's swole. They're just manhandling everybody, and they're so good defensively. They are going to be a battle for anybody in the Big 12. And then Iowa State is efficient on both ends of the court. Defensively, they're very solid. I believe they're a top 10 team. I think they're 8th in the country right now in defensive performance. Like, they're very good as well. Iowa State on a 10-game winning streak right now. I think Houston's on a 7-game winning streak and Arizona on a 5-game winning streak. So it is a bloodbath in this conference right now.
Yeah, one of the things it took me a year or two to understand, Coach Olson used to always yell it at me when I first got to Arizona, was he used to tell me, he'd say, Corey, you're not going to be a player until you learn to take getting scored on personal. And I was from a high school where, you score. Okay, now it's my turn to go score. And he wanted to rewire me mentally to where getting scored on was like a slap in the face. And I took it personal. And it took a couple years for that attitude to set in. Reggie Gary, God bless him, he came to Arizona with that attitude. So did a host of other players. It's just the way their high school programs were. But when you talk about Houston, they enjoy D'ing up. They enjoy getting steals. They know that defensive pressure is going to lead to easy buckets. They pride themselves on taking away whatever it is you think you're trying to do offensively. They pride themselves on just mucking that up and being physical. And that end of the court is where they make their bones. And to your point, you got to recruit a certain kind of kid, because most kids are in love with the threes and the dunks and the showmanship of the offensive end of the court. And then when they jog back on defense, that's just something to do in between jump shots.
Yeah.
That's how they look at it. And I think he does a great job of capturing the kind of player who he can program to play defense, because the one thing he knows, the nights that we shoot 50% from the floor, we're going to win big. The nights we shoot 45% from the floor, we're going to win. The nights we shoot 38% from the floor, we're barely going to win. Because on all those nights, we D'ing up. And that is what old school coaches know about basketball. And that's what a lot of coaches are having a difficult time, shout out Mick Cronin, influence and trying to teach their guys now. You don't have to make shots to beat somebody. All you got to do is lock them up and you'll probably win. But like I said, it's a different era. It's a different mind state. It's a different kind of recruit. But yeah, Houston, they are a different animal. They take everything personal.
You got to be careful with the Mick Cronin love there, Corey, because listen.
I know Mick's going through it right now.
Listen, man. I saw a comment the other day talking about our pod, and they basically said that I wasn't a real U of A guy because I'm not from Tucson, and the other dude, he said you and the other dude aren't really U of A guys, and I was like, the other dude like literally played for Lute Olson, right? It was because we were talking about Mick Cronin. They're like, I can't believe they're like being so positive about Mick Cronin. I was just like, we were being positive not about UCLA, but just about his mindset in terms of his approach to his team, which a lot of people agree with. Like, you need to find ballers and guys that'll grind. And I just thought that was hilarious, because when they said the other guy, I like lost it. I was just like, well, okay.
Well, the other guy meaning me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You. Yeah. The other guy.
48 months. And
Saul and the other guy aren't real guys. Like, come on, man. Let's go.
But that's why I love doing the show with you, because narratives and things like that, they don't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you feel. And that's the one thing, a great coach will divorce you as a player from your feelings. I know it probably is uncomfortable to hear someone praise another coach, but we lost the game to UCLA. Would you have rather embraced the truth and won, or do you just want to hear things that make you feel good? I'm not going to do a podcast where I'm just going to say things to make fans feel good. I'm going to try to give them whatever knowledge I have in my experience, and it is what it is. I don't really question whether I'm right or wrong. I've been involved in basketball for 35 years, damn near. So I pretty much know what I'm talking about. So when I see another coach who's got it working, or I see something that could be tweaked, I understand it's awkward to turn on the McKale Madness podcast and hear us giving praise to a coach who's saying the truth, whether you like to hear it or not. And the one thing about sports is you can't hide, and words don't play. Twitter doesn't play. Instagram doesn't play. TikTok, you have to go out there and play. So people can say what they want. At the end of the day, the kids will settle it on the court, and we'll see who's right.
Yeah, like I said, I just got a kick out of them saying the other guy, and I was like, the other guy literally played in the Final Four in Lute Olson. But hey, we got to challenge your Arizona authenticism.
Do I need to take one of my team photos and put it over here on the little, like, damn, I didn't do a whole lot while I was there, but I was kind of in the building when it was going on. So.
It was just kind of funny that happened, to like question our fandom while literally not knowing who like one of the Final Four members was. So anyway,
informed opinion, we love it.
Again, and then listen, and going back to the Big 12, again, this is going to be a bloodbath. The next 4 games for Arizona are you got UCF at home, and then you turn around and you got Baylor at home. So you got that home and home. And then you go on the road against the team that you just mentioned that just played BYU on the road next Saturday, not this upcoming Saturday, the Saturday after that, at Texas Tech in Lubbock. Nobody likes to go to Lubbock. So yeah. And why did Arizona get like, listen, Morgantown is beautiful. It's gorgeous. Don't get me wrong. Cincinnati is a great city, but man, that is a brutal start to your road schedule to start off with Lubbock, Stillwater, Morgantown, and Cincinnati. In my opinion, we're not on the West Coast anymore. I'll say that.
No, you're right. And you know what though? I don't have as much sympathy for these kids as I used to because they're chartering in and they're staying at nice hotels, and it's just bus rides, hotels, and gyms. It's not like guys like you and me, when you go to cover sports, you got to check into the La Quinta in Stillwater and eat that breakfast. You know what I mean? You seeing all the Stillwater as a journalist or a media personnel, but yeah, these guys charter in, and it doesn't really get a chance to rub off on them. They probably get off the plane like, oh man, it's cold, but that's pretty much the extent of it. I remember college just being a blur, traveling from city to city, playing the games and getting back on the plane. But yeah, it's not a great start, but they got an opportunity to get ahead and stack wins and not be chasing it come end of February, because you don't want to be chasing anything, hoping other people lose and hoping Joe Lunardi shows you some love. You want to put your own work in right now.
Well, Corey, you said Arizona had to go 17-3 and they had to take care of home court. And right now they are 2-0 on the road, 1-0 in home. And they have 2 more opportunities before they go on the road again to take care of home court in UCF and Baylor. And Baylor has kind of been up and down. They've had some good games. They've had some really bad games. You saw the stinker against Gonzaga. They got blown out by Iowa State as well. Like, they've had a tough go of it. So you don't know which Baylor team you're going to get, but they will show up to play at McKale. I promise you they're going to show up. Arizona's got to show up and take care of home court. But we want to talk about a player that could possibly play for the Arizona Wildcats after this break. Folks, if you need a home court and you're looking for that nice house, Carol Royce Realty is the place to go. Carol Royce and her team have all the hookups to get you all taken care of to buy your first house or your dream home or whatever it may be. Carol Royce and her team are fantastic. They've sold homes all over the state, and you can take advantage of Carol Royce and her team by calling 480-776-5231 or visit Carol Royce's website at coralroyce.com. Again, they are the gold standard for real estate out here in Arizona. They know what's coming on the market. They can get you set up for success. They have they have relationships with brokers and mortgage firms, so that way you can get the very best rate possible to hook up yourself. And so remember, go to coralroycerealty.com and hook yourself up with your new home today. And then on top of that, listen, I've got some cool stuff on the way for Corey. Shady Rays. Shady Rays is the best pair of glasses out here, and they're here in the Valley. They got a shop out here in Kierland Commons. You can go out there and just buy it, and they'll honor the promo code PHNX, so you can save yourself 35% off on your next pair of sunglasses. Again, Shady Rays is fantastic. If you go to the website on its own, shadyrays.com, they will offer you 20% off, which is cool. But why don't you double that up almost and get 35% off? They have every single polarized lens you could think of. They have great styles for men and women. They have stuff for the active person. They have stuff for the golfer. You name it, Shady Rays has got it. They got you covered. Shady Rays is the place to go, and you can get yourself ready for the off season or the sunny season, if you will, because we have so much sun here in the state of Arizona. And go to Shady Rays. For you people in Tucson, I'm telling you, Shady Rays is one of the best brands you can possibly get. Go to shadyrays.com, use promo code PHNX, save yourself up to 35% off. All right. Koa Peat, hopefully a future Arizona Wildcat. Big kid out of Perry High School, had himself a nice little last week. So much so that a lot of Tucson peeps were able to check him out last night, as Perry went down to Tucson High. Roll the clip, Kev. And he went down to Tucson High and played against Tucson. And they won the game. It was a little bit of a slow start for Koa. He got off to a kind of a quiet start. Didn't score until like maybe about, I think, 8 seconds in the first quarter. But then he put it all together and had a nice showing. Again, Koa Peat, big kid, 6'8", 200 and I think 25, 35 pounds. He's just a phenomenal athlete. Everybody keeps asking, man, is he going to play tight end if he comes? You know what I mean? Like he's got that kind of build. The other day against Duncanville, he was phenomenal. 25 points, I think 16 rebounds, 7 assists. Like he was all over the place, couple block shots. The kid is a freak. He's one of the top rated players in the country, and he's down to U of A, ASU, Texas, Baylor, and Houston. A little nugget, Corey, in his interview with, I believe, 247 Sports, he called Arizona the hometown team while also talking about ASU and not mentioning ASU as the hometown team. I don't know if you can look into that, but I think that's a good sign if you call on U of A your hometown team. I might be grasping at straws. And then there's some rumors out there that, it's likely that he will be going to U of A, and there's crystal ball stuff or whatever. You never know until you know, especially in today's day and age with NIL and all this other stuff.
Well, that's the whole thing. I was going to say, all things being equal, I don't see us losing recruits to Arizona State. It's just not the brand, the tradition, the program, and this is not a knock on Bobby and his program. They just simply aren't where we are as a basketball program. And I think, anybody who knows basketball would agree with that.
They would say that.
And you're looking for, what's my path? What's my career path? This is the first taste of big-time basketball. You're not going to go play on a smaller stage than you have to, unless the money is insanely different. Then you could see kids making those decisions. But for the most part, all things being equal, I would definitely consider him leaning towards Arizona from everything I've read. It would be a tremendous get for the Cats. And he obviously has the skill set that's going to be very, very successful at the next level. But you got to challenge yourself and put yourself in good situations, good coaching, good competition, good exposure. And I think Arizona can present all those things to most of these recruits.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Koa, he's projected to be obviously a power forward at 6'8", but he's got such great athleticism for a kid his size. I mean, the way he's really light on his feet, that's what I love. I love his quick bounce. Obviously his size is second to none. And as he continues to grow and build, and oh my gosh, I can't even fathom about him getting into a college weight room program and putting on even more weight, because he's just going to be an athletic specimen if he isn't already. Like I will say this, athletically, I haven't seen too many kids at the 16, 17, 18-year-old age that look like that, because he's just a man already at the age of 17. So hopefully that it does work out for Arizona. He does come to Arizona, because they could definitely use him for next year. And I get excited when I think about the potential of next year, but I don't want to get ahead of myself, because I think the most important thing is you stay in the now and you enjoy what's going on with this team and really pumping them up. The last thing I will say, Corey, I think what I want to do moving forward is just give a little nugget of coachable information, if you will. Okay.
Sure.
And I've seen so many of these kids, transfer in and out of programs. Some kids are on their 5th program in like 5 years, and it's just wild. And we talk a lot about coaching and being coachable. I saw a situation with Bruce Pearl and a player, and I'm sorry, I should have looked up the player's name, for Auburn. And player came out of the game sitting on the bench. And I want you to take a look at this eye contact from the player. He is tuned in and locked into what Bruce Pearl is saying. He's attentive, he's reactive, he's responsive, and he's all in on that. And at the end, they dap each other up. And when I saw this come across Twitter, I got so excited and happy about that, because I was like, that's not only a player being responsive to the coaching that's coming his way, or the pointers that he's given him, but that's also a relationship that he's built with his coach to feel that comfortability into being coached as well. And I think it's a two-way street, because oftentimes you look at the player and you're like, oh, look at it, his head's down, he's not even listening, blah, 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 blah. But like, it's a two-way street, and you got to build that relationship. And Bruce Pearl is one of the best in the country in building relationships. And that's what I love. And I think Tommy also has that kind of relationship with his players. And that's what I love to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to read into that because you have a basketball game in which there's 80 to 90 trips up and down the floor. So much stuff going on, so much information that needs to be exchanged. So you got some coaches who are reacting to mistakes and trying to improve, and that's their style of coaching. Talking about what happened and how we can do it better. Or you have some coaches who are just, hey, we'll deal with this in films, but for right now, you get out of here and sit down, next man up. And there's very little communication. All coaches have different kinds of styles, and no style is better than another. It just depends on the coach. But what you saw right there is you saw a player being receptive, taking in the information. But most importantly, what you saw was trust. Yes. I want to win. I want to be a better player. I believe that this man standing in front of me, talking to me, wants the same thing. And no matter what comes out of his mouth, I'm going to receive it in that vein of he's trying to win just like me. He's trying to make me better. And it's a certain kind of kid that can receive that coaching. I know Bruce Pearl. Bruce Pearl is not a super laid back type of coach. That's not him at all. I can tell you a funny Bruce Pearl story from years ago later, but Bruce Pearl is the kind of coach that will get in your face and will let you know the way things need to be done. But he's had so much success, it takes buy-in. And one of the things I remember, Damon Stoudemire, great U of A Wildcat, now the head coach at Georgia Tech, the night they knocked off Duke last year, he thanked his kids for letting him coach them hard.
Yeah.
That is so huge for college coaches. Are you going to let me coach you to make you better? And I saw an interview with a trainer, and he was an AAU college trainer.
Real quick, Corey. Sorry, I got to do this play-by-play real quick because Arizona's got a chance to either tie or get a 3-point shot. And Jada Williams just got fouled. They're down by 2, 12 seconds left to go. Continue on.
2-3?
No, she got fouled going to the basket.
Oh, okay. So
I think it's a side out though.
Hopefully she can pull it off.
Yeah, underneath. They're going to inbounds the ball underneath the basket. So here we go. This is the first time ever we've ever done like play-by-play here live. All right, so the inbounds pass underneath the basket, bucket, tie game. 11 seconds left to go. Timeout, Baylor. Let's go. Let's go.
Gotta love it. So, I mean, going back to the coaching, one of the trainers told the mom, he said, look, if you really want me to make your son better, don't come to the workouts because you're not going to be able to stomach it. And he may call you 30 minutes in and tell you to come pick him up. But if you sit here in this gym, I can guarantee you as his mother, you're not going to like me making him better. It's not going to be something you've ever seen before. It's not going to be something you want to watch or listen to. Yep. That's the fragility of coaching. Mm-hmm. What's that balance? Because we are going in the same direction, but do you trust me? And Bruce Pearl obviously enjoys the trust of his players. And the coaches where their kids do trust them, they tend to do a little bit better because you have that connection where, hey, I want to win just as much as you do. I've been coaching and been around basketball maybe twice as long as you've been alive. So you might want to listen to me a little bit. And that's just getting the kids to buy in. It's really a real thing.
Absolutely. Well, hey, folks, we do appreciate you all joining us for another episode of McKale Madness. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you enjoyed all the breakdowns and the inside look at how Arizona was able to really right the ship, win 5 in a row, and now at the top of the Big 12 Conference, 3-0. Again, we've always said it's a long season. Don't panic too early. And I think you're starting to see the fruits of that labor for those that were patient all the way along. But it's going to be a fun week ahead. UCF on Saturday, and then you turn around and you got Baylor on Tuesday. If you get a chance to go out to McKale, you should. We'll be out there, or at least I'll be out there. So if you see me, say hi. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out. If you're listening to us on the podcast, make sure you leave a 5-star review and leave a review. We would really appreciate it. And if you leave a 5-star review, send me the screenshot, DM me on Twitter or DM me on Instagram, and I will read your 5-star review live on the show. How about that? How about that for an incentive? So for Corey Williams, you can follow him at College Corey. You can follow me at Saul_Bookman, and you can follow the pod at PHNX_Wildcats. Make sure you follow Kev and Damon as they do a fantastic job doing their weekly show or their daily show and post-game recaps. Until next time, we love y'all. Bear down.
We all silly like the mayor.